Adults with ADHD. There's a lot of us, huh?
There are, at least then they find me. So it is like a large percentage.
Do you think you're an ADHD magnet?
Maybe because I find it really like fun to like come up with creative solutions, right? That work for people. So maybe.
Is there actually data on how many adults have ADHD?
I feel like it's always changing.
Sure.
So I do like I check out articles, but I wouldn't want to quote anything for what I've heard. Yeah. I feel like it's always changing.
And you said a lot of the adults that you work with, right, on this like productivity ADHD coaching, they're undiagnosed.
Yeah, almost all of the adults I work with are undiagnosed, and they don't really come to me like, oh, I have ADHD. It's more like, oh my God, I'm really overwhelmed in my life. I'm really stuck. I got this new promotion and I love my company, but like I'm totally failing at that. I don't know what to do. Like, so I like that's who's coming to me usually are the reasons why, and often, if whether they know it or not know it, like the executive functioning skills are what are making these things really tricky.
Okay, so define executive functioning skills for our adults who aren't familiar with that phrase.
Yeah, so executive functioning skills are the skills that help us do all the boring stuff in life. Like really they are the administrator to our lives. So if you think about it, if you have this like really creative business, you still have to do invoicing and you still have to do your financials and you still have to like follow up with clients or follow up with leads. And that is the boring stuff. Like the clients I work with usually don't need help with the core parts of their work. It's these executive functioning administrative pieces that they just find boring and hard. And they need systems and habits to make it less hard.
Right. In that scenario, you might be able to help an adult who is currently, checks their emails 75 times a day learn that they only really need to check it at like 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. or whatever, right? And it can still be efficient and, I don't have to like pop in and out of this boring task I hate all day.
Exactly. And then so a big part of the coaching is like we look at like that might be like the problem, like I can't focus. And it's kind of taking a big picture look too at like what's really going on. What are the important things? What things are actually urgent? What aren't? Do they like working on things like in smaller time blocks, or would they rather like take half a day once a month and do this kind of task? And so when we find out what really works for them, then we can make these better decisions that will really work. But the other thing, like email is such a specific thing that like everyone gets distracted with. And so like one of the biggest, easiest, it's hard, it's easy, but it's hard to remember, I guess. But is like checking your email in time blocks and closing it when you're not in it. Because we will accidentally.
Yes,
I'm so guilty. You don't even mean to check your email, but you clicked the tab and then you saw something and then you got distracted. So it's just like closing it out when you're not in it. Just like that one change of habit can make a world of difference.
I also feel like that applies to everything, right?
100%.
Because like when I have open tabs, I'm like, sometimes I even forget like which tab I'm supposed to be on.
Yeah.
So like if I can throw my phone in a corner and only be on one tab, it's a game changer.
Yeah. And I like work with a lot of clients, and still these are clients I work with, and like I kid you not, there's like 50 tabs open. Like, and we work at what they want like during that day. And to some clients, at this moment, they don't feel like that's like a real challenge for them, or they're so afraid they're never going to get back to that tab. They don't want to close it. But like, yeah, it's like so easy to see how distracting it is. Because like every time you go to try to get back, you end up on the wrong tab.
Right. And I like as somebody who has ADHD and works with this in my day-to-day life, I feel like kind of what you're saying from my perspective, it's like helping build systems that alleviate that anxiety of like, but if I close the tab, what if I forget the task and then I'm behind and my boss is mad? And then so it's like,
yes.
If you can help someone like me build a system so that I know, well, if on Mondays I do these 10 things and these 5 things on Tuesday, then by the end of the week, I've done everything necessary to maintain my career, my life, my this, my that, and everything else is extra, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, and this is where like it depends on the client and like they can tell me where they want to start, right, and what they want to focus on. So we do go by that. But like the key is having a system, right? So at some point, for a client who has a lot of tabs open, we need to come up with like
literal mental tabs or actual computer tabs?
These are actually computer tabs.
Okay.
Like, so like there's systems like Evernote that keeps notes where you can send the website, right? So it won't get lost because this could be like to check later. You could have a folder that says to check later, or it could just be the inbox so they don't lose it. So that would be one thing. But the other thing is setting up like making a weekly plan.
Yeah.
So that they kind of like, and then you have a list system, right? And this might be nothing, like not even your current project list, but someday I want to buy these boots. someday, I mean, because these are the tabs that get open.
Yeah,
Someday
yeah.
I need to get the soccer. I need to like register for rec soccer. I need to like buy
Right.
the ski lesson, like for my kids, right? But they're like, this is work time, so I'm not going to do it now. And then it just like sits in a tab, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you help people basically build out a system to manage their life.
Exactly. Yeah. And often it's like helping them find the why behind it, like, or the value and like the time it's going to take to like create a system and figure out what's really working for them. And because in the short term, it is harder to build out a system, to come up with it. But in the long run, it's just so powerful. It will change your life.
I was just that's great that you said that, because I was gonna ask you, like, okay, so you can build out a system, and then someone like me could still find that system boring. And then obviously it's easier to tap into a boring system than it is to tap into a bunch of boring, disorganized tasks.
Yeah.
So the why is then what motivates the person to use the system?
Yeah, like it's the value behind it. Like, oh, I might not like, well, like, yeah, like sometimes with clients we work together on like doing that planning process each week. And the clients, I don't think I would even agree with this. Like, I don't know if they enjoy that hour of planning, but like what they can see is like if I put this 1 hour in, I'm literally saving 10 hours the rest of the week.
100%.
And so for that, they're like, and that's why like clients often will start and will think we're going to work together for 3 or 6 months. And like, like 10 years later, I have certain clients still with. So, they see, but that might be ongoing support that they need for that 1 hour, but that 1 hour buys them so many hours and it's worth it to them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that's really cool. And I mean, I see that impact in my life all the time. And I like driving home the why, because it's like, okay, well, I don't want to open up this boring list of things today, but I know that if I do, at the end of the day, I can say I call it my bare minimum list.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did all my bare minimums to serve my clients. Thank you. Myself, my home, my dog. And I'm like, so when I have that thing that runs in my head at the back of my head at the end of the night, I'm like, no. Like, you checked your list and I can even just go look at it.
Exactly. You can see it.
Yeah, I checked all my boxes. Like, and anything else I call it bonus.
Yeah. And how calming is it to your brain that you can see that you did it? Like, there is so much power in that, because when you're not storing things in your brain can do more important things and it can be calm, and it's amazing.
Yeah. And there were like 4 or 5 weeks where I like forgot about my bare minimum list.
Yeah. Yeah. And it happens to me too. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I like started using it again more recently, and I was like, whoa.
So helpful. Yeah.
And I also realized like how many things that were fun and interesting that I was doing in the day, but like I didn't need to do. And so I kept saying like, oh my God, I can't get everything done. No, I could get that list done.
Yeah.
I totally can do that list, that bare minimum list. And then when I have extra time, I can do the other things, but I remind myself, you don't have to do those things to move the needle.
Yes, exactly. And that's a good point. Sometimes the clients even will just have like a sticky note, and they're only allowed to put 2 or 3 things on there. And it's kind of like the bare minimum. It's like today, these are the only 2 or 3 little things. Sometimes they're really little. Like it could be making some doctor's appointment they pushed off.
Oh, the
or
worst.
Sending one email that'll only take 5 minutes, but you're stressed about.
It's so hard. Yeah. I will go in to make a therapy appointment, start to book it, and then leave the app because I think I should do something else with my time. And I'm like, the amount of time I've wasted going back into this app 8 times.
Yes, we're all so guilty of that. Another cool tactic we were talking about, like that weekly planning, is like with clients. I'm a fan of like having this like project list, which is like anything that's more than one step that you want to kind of really try to get done within the year. And then from that, everything has like a next task. You'll have a list. You can call it actions or next task.
Sure.
But like they're not in any kind of order. So depending on what kind of mood you're in, if it's not like an urgent thing, you just pick. And like really anything that you pick, if you're having a day where you feel like you can't do much, it still moves things forward. It's still getting something done. And I think we all know we have days where it's easier to be productive and where it's harder.
Is that true for people without ADHD as well?
100%. Yeah. I mean, and so much factors into that. Like, how much sleep did you get?
Yeah.
What was going on the day before? How stressed have you been?
How are you eating? Did you move your body?
Exactly. Did you get out and take a walk or go to the gym? Yeah.
And the weather, is that real?
Oh, I mean, for me it is. Like, I definitely feel like...
I feel like it is for me, too.
It's now getting dark earlier. It's been, like, more rain in the last few weeks. And, like, oh, my God, today it's sunny. Like, how great does that feel?
Yeah. Well, and then we're, like, in for fluorescent lighting. But, yeah. Well, and I know for me, too, like, the way I've been kind of working, and you've taught me a lot of these things just from working with you, and hearing you tell me that they are, like, actual tools that make sense for ADHD is so helpful, is, like, I know when there's less sunlight, I'm only productive when it's bright out, really. So I know I start my days a little earlier once the clock turns back. Because
Yeah.
once it's dark, I'm in cozy mode.
Yeah, yeah. And like knowing about yourself, like what time of day you're most productive is really key, and taking advantage of that. So like for me, for example, like I can always turn it on for a client, right? So it makes more sense to have clients for me be later in the day because I am more
Like
ready
turn
to go.
on like your motivation and like just how
Yeah,
you're
like I will turn it on. Exactly. But like if I like invoicing, it's totally boring. I still don't really like invoicing. Like doing that early gets it off my plate. I do a blog. Like I try to write those earlier, when I still have creativity in me and I'm not like totally zoned out. But that's knowing yourself. Like some
Right.
people do better like late night. Like, and so, sometimes it depends on kids and where you are in your life. But like if you can take advantage of what is your prime time to get like certain tasks done, you want to plan for that.
Is that the same as like eat the frog or no?
I know the term, but I don't want to say for sure.
No, that's okay. So
Okay.
like people always say eat the frog, like do the hardest thing first.
Yes,
Do you
yes,
think
yes.
that like that is crucial, or you're kind of saying more like you're allowed to do what mood you're allowed to allow your moods to dictate what time you do what thing?
Yeah, I think it depends. I think if you can do the hardest thing first, you feel amazing.
Okay.
And on certain days, that makes perfect sense. But like when you're having a tough day, if that hard thing is what you have to do first, you may get started on nothing. Like, and I have a lot of clients like that like,
Yeah, I get that.
like
I do.
it's a day where nothing happened because they knew they had to do this one big project. And so on those days, it is way better to check off a lot of those easy tasks because at least you don't have them the next day to still do.
Right. And so let's say like what you just said is so good. And my clients actually ask me this a lot too. Like if somebody's just like, they wake up and they're just not motivated, what is like one actionable tip you could give them? Because some days, like you're saying, some days you can feel unmotivated and it's okay.
Yeah.
But other days, like it's going to really affect your career or your deadlines or whatever, right?
Yeah. I think when you feel like it's a day like I just can't do anything, like I will say to clients, like find, if you can, if you don't have to be in like a specific office, like find some place that is comfy, that like feels like, because you're probably feeling tired. Like I know for me, like I have this comfy armchair like in my bedroom, like I will go to. And just like this is the kind of day where like maybe just open your email and get like these little tasks done. Because often what happens is once you start moving, you may never get to the big tasks, but like, or you could go to your task list too. But like anything that you get done on those really rough days leaves you in less of a hole the next day. I think the biggest thing is like when you really do nothing on those days, it tends to let those things build up that weren't urgent but become urgent because they got like even those
Pushed.
little things that weren't a big deal got pushed. And now you're like, oh my God, I have these like big urgent things and little urgent things. And oh my God, it doesn't fit in the time you have.
Yeah, no. Yeah, absolutely. And it is funny how that can happen. Like not doing something can take something that's from a 1 to 10. It's a 2.
Yeah.
But now it's a 10 because it's way more work than you actually allotted the time for, even though it would have been a 2.
Exactly. Yeah. And like time is a real thing too. Like I think a lot of the clients I work with, time feels like woohoo, like all over there, but it's really tangible. Like just like you have a drawer and there's a certain amount of space in it. There is a certain amount of time in your day and tasks take a certain amount of time. And the tasks that we find fun, we tend to think they tend to go faster than actually we think. And the tasks that we hate, they tend to take longer than like, or I might have done that backwards. But like when you hate something, like often it doesn't take as long as you think. It just feels like it takes forever. And
Wait, really?
Yeah. Like I bet like you could time this out. Like if you're like, oh my God, I hate this. I feel like this thing is going to take 4 hours. And then you sit down and time and you're like, oh, it was 45 minutes. Like it's not uncommon.
So it's more the way that we feel while we're doing it than it. It's actually interesting you say that because recently I've been really loving creating content again. And I'm sitting and creating content, but it is taking me an hour and a half to put a piece together. But because I'm loving it, it doesn't feel like an hour and a half. But at the end, I'll go, oh my God, it's been an hour and a half. Versus something I hate can take 20 minutes, but I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. And when you're thinking about it, like that 20 minutes might have felt like 2 hours. So that's why the next time you're like, I don't want to do it because it felt like 2 hours. And so sometimes I'll have clients time themselves actually.
That's a great
and see how
tip.
long. Like, if clients struggle with being late, like timing the morning routine, like from when you wake up till when you get out the door. Like,
I never thought about that.
yeah, because it's like people like, you're like,
that's
oh, I don't
so
need to do that
smart.
little thing. But if you do that little thing every day, it needs to be a part of your routine.
No, that's so smart because so I recently have been spending time in Florida, right? And what I've learned is that Florida traffic can add an hour onto any trip.
Yes.
And I don't want to be an hour early anywhere. But I basically, for now, whenever I plan, I took like all of the extra traffic time I've been stuck in, picked honestly, like the heavy average, which is about an hour. And I'm like, if you're going to go somewhere that's more than 10 minutes from the house, you have to leave an hour early. And you have to get ready an hour earlier. And like, yes, but I also feel like because of my ADHD, factoring in that extra hour for travel almost times out perfectly every time now because I don't have to rush.
Yeah, which actually, like, it's interesting. Like, most of the clients I work with who have ADHD, they actually don't like the feeling of being rushed. Which
Oh my
is
God,
so
I
interesting. Even though like it is like a dopamine hit, but like they don't actually like that feeling. And sometimes these are perspective changes. So like if you're worried about being there early, like is there something you could look forward to? Like if I get there early, I get to get this coffee, or I get to do some
I've
work.
been doing that, like romanticizing almost, right?
Yeah.
Of like, okay, well, like there are tasks I love to do that aren't on my bare minimum list today.
Yeah.
I could sit there and do those, and I'm not even going to look at my bare minimum list if I'm early.
Exactly. Yeah. So some treat for yourself to look forward to if you're early, and then you'll probably be disappointed if you hit the traffic you planned for and you don't get to do it.
I know. No, that's honestly great. I want to clarify when you're talking about like you wake up and you're unmotivated. Were you saying that action creates motivation? Like taking that small step?
Yeah, it often does. Like often, like once you get started and you get some momentum, it's easier to keep going. Yeah. And I'm not gonna say like if you're having like a day you're like exhausted, like very rarely is that gonna go from like a day that is bad to this amazing day. But often what happens is it might be some sort of task is like stressing you out. Like sometimes it's not actually that you're unmotivated, but you're below that is like a stress or an anxiety about what you have to do.
Whoa.
And then once you get started, usually the anxiety goes away. Like it's really magical. Even if you're doing something different sometimes.
Yeah, a lot of I think the books I've been reading and podcasts I've been listening to lately, they do say like action can alleviate anxiety.
Yeah. And you can experiment that with yourself. Like a lot of the clients, like you don't have to listen, like buy into what they're saying in the book. Like just try it for yourself.
100%. And like what's the risk in trying it?
Yeah.
And also you might then realize too, right? Like, no, this was just a very unmotivated day versus like this task also creates a lack of motivation for me.
Exactly. And I think sometimes with clients, like we can figure out like there's a difference between I woke up, like usually if they say unmotivated, but they also just weren't feeling great. You know, the days like you're not actually sick, but you're really feeling really crappy.
Yes.
You know, that's
winter.
like a genuine
all winter.
Yeah. Hopefully not all winter. But yeah,
okay, not all winter, but like for me the cold, like it just 100% I feel it on my bones. Like it just affects my mood.
Yeah, it does. And so that is a day like it's probably never gonna go from this like day to this amazing day. But like if you're waking up and there's something you know you need to do that just makes you anxious, that is actually a day that if you like do the hard thing first or get into the hard thing, that may turn into an amazing day.
Interesting.
Because it's the anxiety, like, your brain knows like what's coming.
So would you challenge people to try that, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know. I always use the word challenge because it's more like talking with clients and trying to
and you don't want it to be like pressure.
Yeah, it's never pressure. It's all about like experimenting and see what works for them. So like with certain clients, sometimes I will give ideas because I do have certain clients that like it hasn't occurred to them. Like that like
no, you say stuff to me like that all the time where I'm like, what?
Yeah. And they're like, oh, yes, I do want to try that. Like, it's not like, oh, challenge, like, you should go do this. I never want to be, like, telling them what to do. But, like, I do try to bring up these ideas so they know it's an option. But sometimes I have clients that, like, know about everything. Like, they've done every training. They read every book. And they're like, it still just doesn't work. And it's, like, because you haven't, like looked into, like, what really is important to you and what helps you and what hurts you, you know? And
no, 100%.
Yeah, and sometimes, like, those clients are really fun because, like, they know all the options, right? We just got to figure out, like, what really is going to work for them.
Absolutely. No, that totally makes sense. Okay, let's talk about boring stuff.
Oh, yes. Boring stuff is, like, the key to making the world run, and it's boring.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
Okay, so you're talking to somebody with ADHD, and they're like, listen, I need one tangible thing I can do to get through the boring stuff in my day. How can I stay focused?
Yeah. So, like, what we would do, though, probably is talk about options, depending on what the boring thing is. Like, do you have to do this boring thing that you hate? Because there are options. Sometimes you can hire someone to do it, right?
Okay.
Is there a way to make this boring thing either less boring or not take as long?
Do we want to do, like, a real-life example? We can do it with me.
Sure. What do you find really boring, Isabel?
Oh God. I keep track actually on a list so that one day when I have more money, I don't have to pay for it.
That's amazing.
Actually, yeah, it's great. I call it things I hate and I'm bad at.
Oh, okay. I love that.
Yeah. Because I feel like that's the first thing to get rid of.
Yeah.
What's really boring for me right now? Oh, this is gonna sound really basic, but I don't like checking email.
Oh, yeah. No, I totally get that.
Okay.
So we'd probably dig in. So for task overall, like, do you like doing things in shorter spurts or longer spurts?
Currently, and I'm open to changing this.
Yeah.
I have my days structured by client days and non-client days mostly.
Okay.
And then on non-client days, I have grouped tasks
Okay.
where they're like, there's categories
Yes.
and I'll embed some of the stuff I don't like as much with some of the stuff I do like.
Yeah.
But it's still like categorized. So like if I'm doing sales stuff, I'm also going to check and respond to emails.
Okay. Yes. That makes sense. And then on client days, do you check emails on client days too?
So all my client stuff comes through a separate server. I don't like responding to messages, maybe actually is the overall. It's like a weird thing for me.
Yeah. Does it make you feel, what is the feeling behind that?
Maybe it's because I don't know how long it's going to take.
Yeah.
And so it's like I could hop in and answer everybody's questions fast. And I do love working with my clients, but I want to make sure that everyone gets the maximum, like, best answer from me.
Okay. So you're really thinking about the importance of all your clients getting the maximum best answer, right?
Yeah. And then I guess on the other side of it, it would also be I've set really clear boundaries about when I respond and don't respond just for me.
Yeah,
because there was a
great.
point where I was responding 7 days a week and not having a life. So it's also like I did set boundaries around it so that I don't spend all my time there.
So it sounds like you've put some boundaries to, like, you are only answering emails mostly during working hours.
Yeah, so I respond to clients,
Okay.
one-on-one clients, Tuesdays through Thursdays, 10 to 4.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yes, I guess. If you think so, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. And as long as you set that expectation, like, your clients
In the
know.
beginning, right. And they know, hey, like, get me everything you want to know by Monday. And then on Tuesday, like, you'll get all your answers.
Yeah. So you have a shorter time frame, though, to get back to clients now because you know you're only doing it Tuesday through Thursday.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about that angle.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're also worried a little bit about the responses are meeting your high expectations.
Yeah, I do think about that.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on, like, how that might impact how you feel about email?
I could do anything quick, right? Like, I could get back to everyone. Like, if we're rating my responses, clients and emails 1 to 10, I could get everybody a 6 in a very short amount of time.
Okay.
But if I want to give people an 8 or 9, and then it's up to them whether they think it's a 10, right? I can't say it's a 10. It requires me to slow down and work in a way that isn't as comfortable to me.
Okay. So it's a little uncomfortable.
Right. Rather than just like shooting out a response, it's writing a response, looking at it, seeing how I might be able to take it up a notch. And I know the difference when I send responses like that because the clients write me like this means the world to me. And that feels
so good.
Great, obviously, right?
Yeah. So when we started this little chat, you said email was boring. Do you feel like that's the challenge with replying to client emails, or is it something different? This is a shortened thing because we're
No. This is cool though because people will see how you would take them through this. Maybe it's almost more anxiety inducing than it is boring. I think it makes me anxious.
Yeah, because you have a high expectation for yourself.
Yeah, I just thought it was because I was bad at it. Like, if you had asked me at the beginning of this, I would just be like, well, I just kind of, I'm just so bad at answering emails, like, you know, like.
Yeah, and so that would be another, probably we would dig into that part, right? Because it seems like this might be less of a system thing and more of maybe a perspective thing before we put, like, you already have some really good boundaries. And it might be figuring out, like, maybe the boundaries are helping you or maybe they're not.
And I never thought about that.
Yeah. And you can always answer an email and schedule it for later. So if the Tuesday through Thursday feels too stressful, there's no reason you couldn't answer a little bit on a Friday, but you schedule it to go out on a Tuesday so you're not getting replies. So, like, in a longer conversation, right, there's combining strategies with what's really working for you, increasing stress, decreasing stress.
Interesting. No, and that was even just so helpful to know, too, that, like just to reframe it from like, oh, I'm not really bad at it because you're right, I'm not. And I know that I'm not. It's just like that I have such a high expectation.
And there's different kinds of emails. So like like realizing like the client emails versus like I can tell you like this week for me has been crazy. And like I have a lot of not completely junk emails that I can unsubscribe, but I know they're junk emails. But because they've had to sit there this week, I don't like that. I like my email like cleared out. Like
I agree.
literally like hopefully today or tomorrow can spend 3 hours like digging out of those. And that is to me a boring task that I don't like to do, but I also don't like to not be able to look and see exactly what I need to do. So
Yeah,
what's
that's
a
so
different
interesting.
problem? Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I said boring, but it's not boring. It's more daunting sometimes.
Yeah. Specifically, the client emails I think are not at all boring to you.
No, I like
Yeah.
the client work a lot,
Yeah.
as you know.
Yeah,
We've
I
worked
do.
together.
You're amazing.
Yeah. Well, thank you. But I know I love it, and
Yeah.
and the people I work with, I feel very blessed. They're amazing. Yeah, that's interesting. Cool. Wow, guys, look, she can really help. That's crazy.
That was good.
That was fun. I'm always happy to be an experiment. Based on our conversation, let's say then we started working together in a one-on-one capacity.
Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest thing that somebody would get out of that?
Yeah, I think it's that real change is possible. Like I think often like the clients that when they come to me, they like want this change, but they also feel like no, I've tried so many things and nothing's gonna work, and like I don't really think this is actually gonna work. And so that's why I do usually ask when clients start working with me that we pick like one place to start, and I try to have it like we don't move on from that thing till we've like kind of implemented it or made it more.
When you say thing, do you mean like literally what I said, like emails?
Exactly. Like
Oh,
if you
okay.
said like emails are boring
And they're
I'm-
really bogging me down, and I'm
Yeah.
like pretend I wasn't answering them or something. Like I'm at an extreme.
yeah. So until we had like, and it doesn't mean we're gonna have it all figured out, but until we had like a system that we're like experimenting with and
because
figuring
that
it
would
out.
feel like a huge win too.
It's a huge win. And then that confidence, like that you can do it, that it's worth the work. I mean, because the thing is, these changes are hard. So you do have to work at them. But like, if you feel like it's worth it and it's going to pay off, we're all willing to work at it, right?
Absolutely.
But
Well,
if you feel like it's not worth it, you're like, oh, why am I going to put all this extra effort in?
right. And so I think it would be, interesting too for like anyone who's listening to this to think about, because for me, it's like when you ask me that question, I'm like, what are the things that I think about all the time but don't necessarily act on?
Yes.
Or that constantly kind of create anxiety or worry in my head?
Yeah.
Like if I had just the worry time back.
Oh, it's immense, which is where like I love creating like list systems with clients.
Sure.
And there is like a list to dump this in. Like it could, and something like if it's electronic, even on your phone, or like if you don't have the list on your phone, just email yourself that and then you can write it when you get back. But like getting things out of your head that you'll come back to later is so powerful. And it lets you relax later. I mean, I think the problem is you maybe you're only working 8-10 hours a day. But if like you stop
Who
working,
only works 8 hours a day?
but like then you stop.
Who
right?
among us?
Okay, but then you stop and you go get the kids and you're making dinner and you're doing homework and you're doing all that stuff. And then like that whole time, guess what? The stuff's still going through your head.
Yeah, no, I know. It's like,
Yeah.
and it does make you feel like you really are working more like
More than you
18.
have.
Except for the thoughts in the head, I would argue, are significantly more exhausting than the sitting and working part.
Yes, exactly. And then you don't get the downtime you need to recharge to do a better job the next day. Like we were talking about waking up feeling unmotivated. Well, if you just spent like 8 hours worrying about things after your actual workday ended, of course you're exhausted the next day. And that is a lot of the clients I work with, is they just spend so long running these things through their heads, but there hasn't been any progress made, which is so stressful.
Is that linked to ADHD or is that just a human experience?
I think it's probably a human experience. Like I also work with like some clients who don't have ADHD but have like anxiety, and like that's like a really common
totally.
thing, right? Yeah.
I actually often forget that the two are not the same.
Yeah, they're not. They're sometimes sometimes they're like
People have both.
they have both, but
or they
it's
can be
not
kind of
always.
connected.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so we talked about how to tackle a more boring task.
Yeah.
Is there anything that somebody could be doing like simultaneously? Or is that like if you're bored and you put music on or something?
Oh
does
yeah,
that
that's a
help?
good question. I would say it depends a lot on the client. Like music is one of those things that sometimes help people, sometimes doesn't. Also might depend on the task.
Depends on my mood.
Yeah,
I think.
sometimes movement. Like so this is where it's like really helping the client figure out what works for them, like standing desk versus sitting desk. Like if listening, like is there a way to like take a walk while you listen to some recording of some meeting or
I
training?
do that.
Yeah.
Or like my clients who don't want to do video, I
Yeah.
walk and talk to them.
Yeah, which is amazing.
And I will literally be taking notes while I'm walking.
Exactly. And sometimes the boredom thing is like, is there some sort of treat that maybe you are gonna get anyway, and like you'll plan it ahead? Like maybe you order in lunch only once a week, but like instead you're very specific about I'm gonna do this very boring invoicing task, and then I can order lunch as long as they do it.
Mm-hmm. And you
Yeah.
know what I find cool too with tips like that is I do feel like over time as you train yourself to not be bored with it, it is less boring.
Yeah, and often I think what we think is boring, there's a stress piece related to it. I actually think even for a lot of clients with ADHD, if it's boring but easy, like most of them don't mind it as much. It's the boring but hard that really gets people.
Hence my I hate it and I'm bad at it bucket.
Yes,
Because
yeah.
I hate it and it's easy
Yeah.
is like, ugh, but I'll just sit there and do it.
But reframing it too as like I'm bad at it, usually it's just an effort or like a task that involves more effort. Like you may not be bad at it, but it's not easy. And I think often with ADHD, sometimes people go right to like, I'm terrible at it. And it's not. It's normal for certain tasks to take more effort. It doesn't mean you're bad at all.
Yeah.
It just means it's effort.
That's a good reframe. And for context, I probably say that because I'm a business owner and as a solopreneur, I'm doing so many different things. So like in that bucket originally, I put like accounting.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I should be hiring somebody to do that. So it's probably also different from somebody who's in a concentrated job, versus somebody who's like yourself running every single facet of your business.
Yeah. The only thing I would keep in mind, because I do sometimes work with people in the corporate world, is almost any job, sometimes even more in the corporate world, because you have very little control over the tasks get thrown on you.
Yeah, that's so true.
Is that like we all have these things that come to us that we're not as good at. And that's where like we can work together. Like sometimes these things that are really hard, like breaking them out, having a better plan, coming up with strategies. Like if it's accounting, like how can we make it more automated? How can we make it more simple? And there are often ways, like if it's, a corporate client and there's something like, can you create a spreadsheet that you're just like adding to, or like a template that you're adding to so it's not as big of a deal?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or batching tasks. You talked about that. Like, is there a way to batch it so that you're only, even though it's longer and it sucks, like you're only having to do this once a month instead of once a week? And sometimes that's better.
Yeah, no, totally. What's one thing that you wish people understood about ADHD and motivation?
Yeah, it's a good one. Like, so I don't always like the word motivation, like, because I think with ADHD, like there are like lower levels, like a dopamine and stuff, but like if you have ADHD, if you love doing something, like it's really easy to do it. There's tons and tons of motivation. And then like the things that you don't like, I think it's even harder to do when you have ADHD, when you really don't like to do it. But I think, and I think it's like breaking down those hard things. But I think motivation's overrated in the sense that like if you have a system behind it and you have a habit behind it, the motivation matters a lot less if you're in that right environment. And so where can we make motivation really just take it out of the equation? And there's a lot of things we can. That motivation matters very little.
Interesting.
That's just what you do.
It's not at all what I thought you were going to say, but that's cool.
What do you think I was going to say?
Like some brain chemical something of like, I don't know, but no, I guess you're right. It's like, just don't think about it that way, like, because it almost maybe adds pressure.
Yeah. And I think like, so I do coach a lot of clients that have ADHD diagnosed or undenied, but I don't necessarily coach them differently. Like I think also like often clients with ADHD are more creative, right? So like we may come up with like different, like more creative solutions for them, but like it's usually like it's a spectrum. It's along that. Like it's not like your brain's not like totally different than someone who doesn't have it either. It's just sometimes it's more, just feels bigger.
Mm-hmm. So I've heard a lot of people like within the ADHD community, at least in my subsect of it, say like, well, I don't want to, be on meds, or I don't want to do coaching because I love the part of the brain that can get what takes most people 8 hours done in 2 hours, or the creative, like all these random ideas popping into their brain. But can you debunk that for us? Like how does coaching's not going to get rid of that?
Oh, coaching's definitely not going to get rid of that. I mean, I think the coaching, like I work with a lot of clients who are super creative, and they feel like they have more time for the creativity because like they actually get pretty stressed about all these things that aren't happening, that they really like, they feel like they're letting other people down. So the coaching actually helps them have more time for the creativity. I do hear that sometimes with clients with the medication, like they find like it's harder to be creative. But I also find like there's, this is where you have to work with your doctor, but like these
Right.
medications wear off at a certain time. And a lot of those clients, like, you take the medication earlier in the day and their most creative time is later in the day anyway. And sometimes like that works out for them. Or like these are the type of medications I think for a lot of clients it's easier to be on these things consistently, but both for the habits and like consistently getting things done. But like you could not take it. Like if this is like your creative day and you don't take your medication, like check with your doctor. But like you can go on and off like the stimulant medications.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
And a lot of clients do. Like I have a lot of students who don't take it on the weekends for better or worse.
Yeah.
So,
No, that makes sense. How is emotional regulation connected to productivity? Because emotional regulation, right, is a symptom sometimes of ADHD, yeah?
Yeah, I think when you have ADHD, like it's a little harder sometimes to regulate. It takes a little bit more work. But this is something that for all different kinds of reasons, like there are a lot of people who, don't have ADHD and may really struggle with regulating. And it's huge because if you're dysregulated, if you're out of your window of tolerance, it's really hard to focus. It's really hard to be in your thinking brain and do your best work and retain information. Like, so if you have a presentation and you're like so stressed of it, you're in fight or flight and you're practicing for it, it's not going to stick in your brain. And then that's super stressful. It makes you more dysregulated. So coming up with ways to like come back to a regulated state. Lately, I've been really liking the term regulated, not calm. You don't have to be calm. You have to be regulated. Will help you, with retention of things. It'll help you do better work. And sometimes these are outside things like, getting movement in, like eating right, getting the right amount of sleep, like, which the coaching can work on. I have a client right now. We're starting to work on like better sleep habits, which right now is just a better evening routine. So you're not, watching Netflix for hours, right?
Oh, was that bad?
It's not actually bad, but if you're up till 2 a.m. because like you're watching the show that keeps coming on and then you're exhausted the next day, it's not getting their goals.
God, I love reality TV so much. It's so bad. It's so bad. But yeah, I know that I sleep so much better when I don't start my night with it, but man, is it hard?
It is hard. It's hard for everybody.
Yeah. No, definitely. What's the number one reason why you think people procrastinate so much?
Yeah, so I think of procrastination in two categories. So one reason people procrastinate is they really don't know how to do it, and you need to ask for help. And like I know this can be really hard. Sometimes it's hard to ask for help because you feel like you should know this and you're embarrassed.
That's the worst feeling, right? When you're like, I know someone already told me and I just can't figure it out.
Yeah, and you're embarrassed. And sometimes you really don't know, like as an adult, like sometimes people really don't know where to go to ask for help. Like
That's
I have clients that like they haven't done their estate like documents or they haven't like they're behind on taxes and like because they haven't found the accountant, they don't know what they need. Like it is a legitimate like they don't know where to start.
Right.
And I can help with that. But the other form of procrastination is like that really boring tasks that are annoying. So like maybe you don't find it hard or stressful to write invoices, but you really hate doing it. So you put it off until it's like too like so far past, you're like, are they even going to pay me anymore? Right.
Yeah. And is it like rude at this point if I even ask?
If I even ask for the money. Right. So those we have more strategies. Sometimes we'll figure out, make sure there's nothing behind it going on. But if there's really, it's just boring. It's changing the environment, making it shorter time spurts. Like there's strategies to make it so you don't procrastinate. It just doesn't feel like if you hate doing it, like it doesn't have to go on as long.
Okay. So you've said a few times, like, is it just boring or is there something behind it?
Yeah.
Is there something that people who are listening could ask themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I think just often I like instead of like reflecting in your brain, like just writing on a blank piece of paper.
I love a whiteboard too.
Yeah, or a whiteboard's amazing if you have one. Yeah. Like what are all my thoughts about what's going on? Sometimes working with a coach can be helpful because they're going to ask like hopefully thoughtful questions that will like open it up. But
yeah,
like,
you're going to ask thoughtful questions.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
also like I've asked myself that thing about emails a million times, but until you just asked me it that way, like I didn't realize I was just anxious.
Right. It was something else was going on. Yeah. But But sometimes writing it out, you'd be surprised what you figure out. And I often find that it's a different, like if you're looking for what is the real problem you're solving, it's different than what people expect it to be. Or there's like, instead of you thought you had this one problem and there's like 10 different problems to solve, but maybe each one of those problems are actually smaller.
Sure.
But you're only going to tackle them one at a time. You can't make like multiple changes at the same time.
Yeah, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. Why does burnout happen so much with people with ADHD?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's like many different reasons. But I think the big one when I work with clients with ADHD is they'll like procrastinate and they'll put off some task for whatever reason.
Right.
And then they'll have this day they spend 16 hours and they catch up on what they haven't done
do that.
in 3 months, right? And they're amazing and they get it all done. But then
And you feel like a superhero while you're doing it, but then you're dead the next day.
Dead. And then the next time they have to start this little task, they're like, I don't want to do it because last time I spent 16 hours and this happens like repeatedly on things.
It's crazy.
Anybody would burn out after those.
It's so silly. I know I was doing it for a while. Like, I think it was less like not doing what I was supposed to be doing, and it was more like doing more than I needed to do.
Yes.
Same thing, because I wasn't looking at my like, here's what you need to do to move the needle. I was just task to task to task.
Yeah.
And I was working like 16-hour days for a week. And the entire weekend, I felt drunk. I just felt drunk. I felt hungover. I was delirious.
Yeah.
So tired. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I was like, no, you can. You just have to like have a better plan.
Yes, exactly. And that is a big one too, like better done than perfect. And like, like a client email may be really important that it's answered well. Maybe some actually don't matter as much, right? But like there's a difference between replying to a client and replying to some person you met at a networking group for 5 minutes. Like what kind of quality? And so sometimes we can work together to figure out what tasks deserve that kind of time and attention.
True, yeah.
And what really don't need it.
Right. And also like, when I think about my experiences, like I always appreciate, even from my coach, a fast response that just says, this is a great question. Let me get back to you with a more detailed response tomorrow.
Yeah.
Was like such a small thing somebody told me to start doing.
Yeah.
That like it really changes it, because the person still gets the hit within like the hours you said you were going to reply.
Yeah.
But you're right. You can't always do. Sometimes something comes in that's just bigger than what you allotted for.
Yeah. And I think it happens a lot. And that is such a perfect solution, because you have given them the reply so they know you got it and they know you're thinking about it. And then you set the expectation to when you would have the time and energy to do it the way you want to do it. And I think that's an important thing, because sometimes like if you don't have the energy to do it at that moment, we just like, oh, I'll get to it tomorrow. But then you spend the whole night stressing that you didn't let them know.
You're like going to bed and you're like,
yeah.
Do you do that too, even though you don't have ADHD?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. All the time. And, and sometimes like the thing is like it's like remembering in those moments to do these little things. Like it's like practicing them, or like scheduling the emails. Like I know that's a thing. And how many times I like think, oh, I don't want to reply now because I don't want them to get it. And I don't know why I don't just write in, schedule it. I don't. I'll forget.
Yeah, no, for real. And I think it's so good to just say these things out loud too, because you also think like, I must be the only person in the world who was late doing a task for a client or who missed a deadline. And it's like, no, we all do it.
Yeah. I mean, I think the more open we are about these challenges and these struggles, the more we understand like we're not alone. And like when you don't feel like, when you're not like putting yourself down, like it's easier to get back up and do it again. And I think that like self-talk really matters. I think so many clients, like they spend so much time putting themselves down. It's like they are their biggest hurdle.
Yeah. It's like, where's your grace for yourself, right? Because you would have it for your friend. You would have it for your coach.
Exactly.
You would have it for your employee. Right. No, absolutely. What do you think is the top thing that you hear people say when they do the ADHD coaching with you? Like that is like the win, the thing that's coming out of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think usually clients get to the point where they know what things are on the list that are important and they know what things can wait.
That's cool.
And they don't feel like they're missing things. I think that's a huge one.
That's huge.
Yeah. I think also just understanding their time and leaving extra time, like cushions of time. Like your schedule should have open time.
Right.
Because things pop up, things change around, things happen. And if you have no open time, it's never going to work. Like you're never going to be able to make it happen.
No, definitely
not. Those two things probably.
Yeah, I think the time one is huge. It's also interesting, like since being in Florida more, like people there are much more lax about time.
Yes.
I find. So here, like if me and you say 10:30, like it's 10:30, but in Florida it could be all the way until really 11:15.
Yeah.
So I've had to by society buffer in more time, but I think it's been good for me just overall.
Yeah.
Because I can't overpack myself because nobody there functions like that. So then it really is interesting.
Yeah.
It's totally different. It's probably better.
Yeah. I wonder if like, because sometimes I have clients who also like, well, this would be an example for me too, but I get like stressed about being late, but like they'll set a window. So if like, and I wonder in Florida time, if you're like, let's meet between 10:30 and 11, if people would feel more time bound because there already was a window. I don't know. But that helps clients sometimes that
That's interesting. Yeah, I never thought about that. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I think I've just got I like it now.
Yeah,
Because it
great.
gives me buffer time to do what I want to do.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
just sit there and do nothing.
Yeah.
So I actually enjoy it,
Yeah, that's awesome.
which is weird. I didn't think I would. I didn't at first, but now I do.
It's a slower pace, which is kind of nice too, maybe.
Well, and also I think because the weather's better, like the worst case scenario is that you're sitting in the sun for 20 minutes.
It sounds amazing right
Yeah,
now.
it's-
We're entering winter.
I
feel
know,
like.
it's perfect. What's your favorite time management tool?
Oh, that's a good one. I'm pretty like honestly, it's probably I'm gonna go two ways with this. So, okay, so a visual timer. They sell timers, and when you turn it, you can see how time is moving. So if you're doing a task, like seeing how the time is moving can help you kind of feel time while you're working on it. I am also a huge fan of setting alarms on the phone
Me
that are
too.
labeled with because you won't remember when it goes off. You can set it for certain days a week so it repeats. And I just learned this actually from a client. Mine always go off and I like the noise typically, but there's sometimes you're worried about a noise going off and you can set it to vibrate.
Right.
Which is really cool. And the third one I would say honestly, it's using like your digital calendar.
Yeah.
Like and seeing your time. We take it for granted, but it is probably
My
like
Google
one of the best
Calendar.
tools.
Yeah,
love
if you
Google.
said I had to get rid of every other tool I had for my
Yeah.
time management and I can only keep one, it would be my Google Calendar. Absolutely.
Yeah. I will say that I've a lot of clients who think that the alerts that come up from the calendar are enough to remind them of things. And almost all the time that is not enough. We have to set an alarm. So that like takes a while off and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to use the Google Calendar alert," but that's so easy to miss.
Well, and then they all get bunched up and sometimes they're irrelevant.
Yeah, exactly. Or you
Right.
don't hear it because it's just a little vibrate for a second on your
Right.
phone.
And you're like, oh, maybe that's a text. I'm not answering text right now. I'm focused. Right. So
Exactly.
yeah, alarms too are
yes, to go with them.
really, really helpful.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we're talking about time management. How do you help someone learn how to realistically plan?
Yeah, I mean, so I like it's usually like an activity of really tracking your time. So often we'll start like simple, like we're putting together an electronic calendar, and the things that are happening every day, we will put them on the calendar. And if we're doing this like activity for like a week, we may also add like morning routines, like workouts, giving like making dinner, cleaning up after dinner, and then they'll adjust it for like what's really. You can also do this on paper, it depends on the client, but like adjust it for how long did it really take. And then when we get an idea of seeing really what's happening with your time, we can make better estimations the next week. And like that's the biggest thing. There's often a lot of like misperceptions about how long things take.
Yeah. So it's legitimately just like, okay, I'm going to track this. Like for me, when I create content, I'm realizing it's actually taking me a lot longer than it used to, which is
Yes.
fine. It's just I need more time.
Yeah.
And so recently I've been tracking, like I was saying earlier, it's about an hour and a half for like some of the newer style things I'm working on. And I only really allot 30 minutes. So I'm like, okay, I've like had to put it on more days, which has been helpful.
Yeah. And that's great that you're noticing that. And the other thing is the reason it can help over time is sometimes those tasks may at one point take you an hour and a half and you might find in 4 months you're so much better. It now takes 45 minutes. And then what do you do with that time? Like,
Nothing.
Nothing is great. Or like if you're someone who like doesn't plan for it and it like sometimes I have clients where like they just end up in email, but then like we find out they're doing some other task like at night because they didn't have time for it. Like it could go there.
Yeah.
So yeah, like some open time is amazing, but also like I have certain clients where like if they don't have a plan for it, it goes to things that really just don't matter.
Yeah. No,
and don't make them feel fulfilled.
No, I understand that like completely. Yeah. No, I absolutely do that. What is the best way to build consistent habits and routines? Because it's really easy to say like, okay, I'm going to start going for a walk every morning, for example, right? Like that would benefit all of us. But like to actually do it consistently is, I feel like, a whole other story.
Yeah. It's so starting really small is important. So if it's something like taking a walk, first we might actually like dig into like why is this important to you? Like why does it matter? Because sometimes we say we want to do these things, but really it's like we feel like we should.
Because everyone else told us to wake up at 4 a.m., right? So
exactly. And if it's a should, like we can try to implement this habit, but it often doesn't last if it's a should. It has to be something like you really want for it to really last. But then you start small. Like if you want to wake, and we might look at what time do you really want the walk? Like if you're not a morning person, the morning may not make any sense, And if the afternoons work better, but you can't do it every afternoon, maybe we adjust to like you'll do it in the afternoon when you can, and that's gonna work. And then you start with the habit with like, okay, like setting an alarm would be the reminder. And it might be, it depends how little you need. Like maybe the walk isn't intimidating. So once you have the alarm, it's good. It happens. But if it's really intimidating, it could be setting the alarm and just going outside and then coming back in. If it's something harder than a walk. I think with the walk, that wouldn't matter. But
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. Okay, so I feel like for a lot of people with ADHD, like there's a lot of shame.
Yeah.
Because you miss something and you get ridiculed or you ridicule yourself. Or like it affects other people too, right? Like it's not just you.
Yeah.
So how does someone work around with or through that shame?
I mean, I think the first step is recognizing what's happened. And I think it is really critical because like shame actually makes it harder to make change. Guilt is kind of different. Like let's say you're someone who's late all the time and you're just making people wait for you. Shame isn't going to help you make that change. But being like, yeah, it wasn't really conscientious of me to make them wait for me 15 minutes for, this meeting every week or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like recognizing like that it's not helping you and then I think also guilt versus shame, there's a lot more actions you feel like you can take. Because shame goes to a place like not someone like I was late, like I'm a terrible person who makes everyone else.
Right, I suck, no one likes me.
Right. Which is so not helpful. So I think the first step is definitely recognizing it. And then this is like often like sometimes clients, depending how deep it goes, they might have a therapist. But like what can you say back to yourself that is different? Because like the thoughts happen.
Of course they do,
like,
right.
What can you say back? And then talking through like, the why, like figuring out really what's going on. Like why are you really late? Can we figure out like what's the real problem to work on,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because like, for clients it's interesting, like it's all different things. It's not necessarily, you might think like, oh, I didn't know how long it took me to get ready. But sometimes it's like, oh, it makes me really nervous meeting with this person. Or, oh, I don't really want to meet with this person. Like it's all different things. And then it's a different solution.
And it can be different things at different times, right? Like
we're
talking about the Florida thing. Like at first I was kind of like, man, like I had gotten a lot more timely. And so I was like, what am I? And I was like, it is quite literally the traffic. Like you have to plan differently. Like you were okay without traffic in New York, up here at least. But yeah, other times it's something different.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can relate because I lived in, New York City like for 9 years. And, as someone who hates being late, like I leave enough time that I'm pretty rarely late. But like you just have to accept sometimes like something happens on a train, it doesn't move for 20 minutes. And it does not make sense to
leave an
plan
hour and
so
a half
much
early.
ahead.
Right.
Like that's a loss of time. And just accepting like I'm not a bad person and I will just tell them like what happened and they will understand.
Right. And then communicating too, like rather than just being like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to warp time. It's just saying like, hey, I'm behind 5, the train got stuck.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I would guess. I'm not the coach, but
yes, you got it down.
In my season, this is what I've learned.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. No, communicating is key because it also, the other person knows what to expect. And then that minimizes like their feelings about it too, which sometimes like, as people, we pick up on that too. So sometimes that can make it worse if we're talking about like the shame part where like you just also like you get to this meeting, you're late and you can tell they're frustrated with you. You can tell they're really upset. And then that makes you feel worse.
Is there a good line for that like you like people to use when they're late?
I mean, I think it's really mostly just, just be truthful. Like, I'm so sorry I didn't leave enough time and I realize I'm late. Like, I think usually that.
Just calling it out,
just
right?
Calling
basically.
it out, yeah. And just being honest.
And without also too the part of like, are you mad at me? Like, are you going to never see me again? Are you going to like, and it's like, don't make it that person's responsibility.
Yes, right. It's like, again, where it's not the shame part, like, I made a mistake. If you made a mistake, if the train really got stuck, that's not your mistake. But like if you made a mistake, just say what happened and move forward. And I think that usually the other person acknowledges that, and that gives you the most help for like how you can make a better decision the next time.
Yeah, no, definitely. And also you probably then feel like you were saying earlier, take action to feel different, right? So like you took an action, you apologized, you addressed it. Then you don't feel like there's this like, thing over your head throughout the whole meeting or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that is that's important is like you cleared the air, hopefully, or you opened a conversation. Like who knows what they might say. They might be like, oh, it's totally fine. I actually just got here a minute ago. You never know, right?
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do the productivity needs of somebody who thinks more neurotypically like differ from somebody who's a little more neurodivergent?
Yeah, I think a lot of the clients who are neurodivergent are like a little bit more creative. And I think the solutions have to be a little bit more creative. I think someone who's
It's a positive way to put it. I like it.
yeah. I mean, if you're neurotypical, I think you're more likely, like, there's so much information out there. There's so many like podcasts and books and online programs you can buy. And you're more likely that like you could go to that program and maybe just make it work like without a coach. I think sometimes that's why like I don't get those clients, right? But like when you're neurodivergent, like often you need a little bit more of a creative solution. Like you might need to pick pieces from all these different things and really make it work for you. And like have someone kind of help you figure out what's working and what's not working. And
Well, also, like, if we could have built a system ourselves, we would have built a system ourselves.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, if I didn't need to sit down and say, like, hey, I know I built A, B, and C, but I'm still scared I'm missing something, then I would just buy somebody's digital calendar and use it.
Right. And right. But you've now figured out, like, you might have tried to buy someone's digital calendar.
Oh my God,
but,
yeah. Haven't we all? Or at least,
yeah.
like, I guess not you because you don't have ADHD, but, like, everyone else with it. Like, I think we all first try the, like, let me read this book or buy this journal. Like, no productivity journal ever in my life has helped.
Yeah. And I can see that a little bit because I think I mentioned, like I will, read a book on it and take the time to, like if there's activities, like, do the activities or write flashcards on it. So you're, like, really learning the material, like, depending on what's on. I've done a lot of, like, parenting books lately and trauma.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And we'll, like, make flashcards and, like, practice, like, using the stuff. But I think, like, neurodivergent clients, like, that feels super boring to them. So, like, because that like, not reading the book necessarily, but, like, going through on their own and doing some of these activities and, like, practicing it seems boring. So that's where, like, a coach can come in. Like, how can we make it not so boring so that it gets implemented? Because there's a difference between knowing and implementing.
Yeah, that's true too, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. I'm sure that's big for a lot of clients, yeah?
Yes, yeah. I mean, the implementation part is, I think, a big part of the coaching. It's not just about, like, the information. There's so much info out there. It's about, like, integrating it into your life and what's going to work for you.
Are there any apps that actually help people, or do you think they're all just distracting?
I think there's a lot of distraction out there with apps. Like, I think there's no perfect apps. Like, I do think, on productivity, having a list somewhere is important. And so there's a million list apps. I don't necessarily think it matters what you pick, but probably picking one that you have access to both at home and, like, when you're at the grocery store or when you're at work, like, all these places is helpful. It doesn't necessarily matter which one you pick. I think, like, for taking notes, that's important probably to have an app where you have access to them in all these places. But, like, I'm not a big fan. Usually with clients, we start with whatever apps they've already used. Like, if they're a Microsoft person, we'll use, like, the Microsoft
that makes
stuff.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And we can make it work usually. Like, if there's some real reason we can't make it work, I can do research and we'll find something else. But that's so rare and far between that happens.
No, that makes sense. Do you find that any of the apps or tools are, like, more ADHD friendly?
I would, like, it's too hard to generalize because I think it comes down, like, some people with ADHD, like, really, I think it gets caught because, like, they like things really creative, but it's interesting, like, with a lot of clients with ADHD, sometimes we do planning on paper because, like, that gets
I love it.
too distracting. And
I love it.
Yeah. So we just go back to the basics. So it depends on the client. I think you have to, like, start with where they're at. And sometimes they're like, oh, like, you were right. Like, paper was better for, like, obviously you're not going to carry your planner everywhere you go. But if you're working in an office all day, well, maybe you do. But for a lot of clients, like, your work is happening in your office if you're in a corporate job. There's no reason you can't have a plan on paper for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I also think, like, what's been unfortunate in my experience, and this is just my limited experience, is that a lot of the planning apps that are more creative are not as effective. Like, they're not as easy to work. Like,
they take longer.
They do, and they don't have the same workflows and stuff. So, like, I personally use Notion, and it's kind of boring. It's not super pretty, but, like, it's easy. It was easy for me to build. Like,
that's awesome.
And it's very obvious what my tasks are.
Yeah, that's really
I threw some emojis in there to make it look cuter because, like, I cannot have an emoji list. Like, I would die, but
that's awesome. I mean, but the key is, like, planning. Like, you shouldn't be spending a lot of time using the app. Like, and that's the thing I run into with a lot of these. Like, they get so complicated. You're spending more time, like, trying to get the info in there than, like, coming up with the idea, right?
Right, and then maybe if you have the money, it just, like, pay somebody to build the app for you and let them do it.
It could be, yeah.
What's the best way for someone's family or partner to support them without, like, taking over?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's recognizing, like, what really matters and what doesn't. I think often, like, sometimes work in, like, partnerships, like these things will drive the partner crazy, but in the big scheme of things, like it's not really a big deal, and you can come up with a middle of the road solution so no one's that annoyed. The other thing is like having regular meetings. So sometimes
Yeah.
like a family meeting if it's in a personal life, or work meeting with like your boss regularly. So it's one of it's like to know what's going on, but it also opens up the time for conversation. That doesn't
Before
always
there's like
happen.
a problem, right? Or a conflict,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, like the little things. Like little things will come up and there's time to talk about it. It's before they like blow up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the more you have those regular conversations, the easier that is. It's really hard to do when you're not doing it and then like, oh, we have to call a meeting. Like, and everyone's like, oh my God. But if you
Yeah.
have a regular meeting, that's so much easier to talk about.
Yeah, I also try to be aware of the things that I know that are not my strengths, so that when I am having those conversations,
Yeah.
I can say like, hey, I know that I don't necessarily notice if the sink is full. Like it just doesn't cross my mind.
Yeah.
But I know that that's one of like, just pretend like that's one of my tasks that I said I would do. Like, has it been getting out of hand and am I not noticing? And then just kind of like calling it out right there, so that way like you're just addressing it, like kind of like with the lateness, right? You're like, and it's also not an excuse. It's just like, oh great, then I'm gonna put in my alarm more often to check the sink than I was because it's at a place I just didn't notice.
Yeah.
And I won't notice.
And that's a good thing. And then you could have conversations with like if someone's always making sure the dishwasher is like ran at night and emptied in the morning, like just when you're done with the dishes, they just go in the dishwasher, which is a new habit to build, but not necessarily hard. It's just a new habit.
Yeah. And the habit I think is so key, right? Of like in the morning, I take the laundry out of the dryer and I fold it. But the days where I don't do that first thing in the morning,
doesn't happen.
I didn't do it for the last 3 days, and I went 3 days without doing, and I didn't need the laundry.
Yeah.
But then last night I did like 3 loads of laundry because I was like, you didn't buffer in enough morning time.
Yeah.
So you skipped your morning tasks, and now you're behind. Yeah. So yeah.
But that's actually a good example because that one will come up like also if like, especially if everyone's like the couple, like everyone's doing their own laundry, like does it really need to bother you if the clean clothes are in the basket if it doesn't bother that person?
Right.
So like sometimes it'll happen like the husband really doesn't care that their clothes are in their basket. And so I think just recognizing
just like letting things go.
Yeah.
And I try to do that too because I'm like with other things, because yes, I have ADHD, but other people have it manifest in different ways. And I'm like, if it's not hurting me, who cares?
Yeah. Another thing I will say about like the family meeting, because I'm a big fan of those, and this would come into like the workspace too, coming up with like listing out all the tasks that have to happen. So if it's in a family situation, like this happens like a bit, like maybe the dad takes the kid to the birthday party, but isn't realizing like the mom RSVP'd for the party, bought the present, wrapped the present, like so those 3 things. So like you'll get like I think seeing all these tasks can help you like disperse them better, and no one's feeling and then, like that conversation around it because the dad will be like, what do you mean? I'm like doing the whole birthday party and like really
like, yeah, but you don't see the behind the scenes of it,
right? Which may have taken up the same amount of time or more than like going to the party. And like sometimes when people see it, they're like, oh, well, I could take that on. I didn't even realize that was happening, right? So especially if you're like someone with ADHD, that often happens. You just didn't even notice. So in a non-judgmental way, like making sure all like you could list those out throughout the week, like every little thing you're doing so that everybody knows what's happening.
Yeah, no, definitely. Is there one, like if somebody's listening to this and they're like, okay, like was there one mindset shift I could make that would really change things for me? What would be that moment?
That's a good one. I think it's kind of like believing that like change is possible and they're worth it. Like I think a lot of the clients I work with really feel like so overwhelmed that they just like I don't think they really believe like that change can happen or that they're worth making those changes.
And you see it every day that it's totally possible.
Oh yeah, and it happened. And it happens like well it's funny. I will say it happens slowly in a certain sense. Like maybe it does take them a year or 2 to get to like really this place where they wanted. But then like I have clients I'm working with now that are like in their 60s. Like I have a client who's like in their 60s and feels like their life is like so together. And like
That's
they've
so
never
cool.
had it. And I think like a part of them is like, I wish I'd found this earlier. So like, yeah, maybe it took like 2 years or whatever, but like in the scheme of things, like it's not that long.
No. And like you said too, you start with specific tasks. So even though like your whole life might not instantaneously feel organized, you might feel like, wow, the way that me and my partner manage our house skills is already so much better. And that was taking up so much brain space that you already probably feel like $1 million.
Yeah. And it's been interesting to me. I've had so many people reach out. Like, I didn't know this was a thing, but clients being like, I am years behind on my taxes. And the funny thing is, like, I mean, I had a client once who was like 7 years. Like, they're almost outside of like the audit period, right? But like, so it only really takes like we're working together. It's a little different than coaching, but a productive, like a on-site session, like, you know, a 4-hour session, you can kind of get things together and find an accountant. And then what happens is, like, it's in rhythm. Like, you don't need a whole session. And so that can be an example of, like, it might take time for them to get processed, but you can go on to other things, like, while this thing is happening. And, like, just that one thing being accomplished or, like, they feel like is in motion, like, that stress will so much come up, even though they know there's, like, a million more things on the list that need to happen.
Yeah, but that's such a relief.
Such a relief. I mean, yeah, people, like, hate being behind with the IRS.
Yeah.
Which I get.
As they probably should, because that's terrifying.
Yes,
yeah. Anything else that you think people should know?
I think that, like, mostly, like, coaching is an investment in yourself, and, you know, if you're ready to, like, make change, like, it can be super valuable. But it's not like a magical solution. It's not like you're gonna, like, meet with a coach and they're like, do this, and then, like, your life is better. Like, it's really about making changes.
And it's consistency. I tell my clients that all the time. Like, the difference between the people who grow and the people who don't grow online is whether or not they're willing to be consistent.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Like real change is, like, small, consistent progress over time. And it's, like, seeing it throughout, like if you think about your year, like, you will go on vacation, you will have people come stay over your house, you will get sick. Like, it's coming, like, getting habits and structure in place that will come back after these, like,
it's like your bounce back rate, right?
Yeah.
Versus it's not like getting it right every time, but it's like when you get it wrong, like, you're slightly less late, or you're better at communicating how late you are, or you're only late once a week instead of 5 times a week. And
which is huge.
It is huge. Yeah. And you have to take the time, though, and I think that's one of the great things about having a coach is that coach can say, look how far you've come. It's not always easy to look how far you've come, especially when you're an overachiever or a creative or you're in it even.
Yeah. And we do sessions like every 6 months or every year. We'll do like a look back, like what are the growths we've had? What are the challenges? Like what are the new goals we want to focus on? And we keep it like a running document, and it's fun. It's fun to see all the growth. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I might steal that. That's great.
Yeah.
I might do that for my clients. It's a really good
really
idea.
Fun. Yeah.
I love it. Anything else?
No, I think this is great. I really appreciate you like doing this with me. This was fun.
Yeah. I wish I knew you when I was young.
I wish I knew you when we were young too. I'm a lot older now.
Are you? I don't even know that.
I think
but
I am.
Maybe it's possible. But I just like, I think like, where would I have been if, you know, someone had, like, I had just been more, I don't want to say trained because it sounds like a dog, but like if I had developed these like different skills, because I did always feel like a little behind, a little messy, but not like in my intellect, in like my life.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all have our own journey, and like the journey you've taken has gotten you to where you are today, and that's so cool. But I do think that is like the value of like the younger you are when you start getting that kind of support, like the more growth it can have for you. Yeah.
Well, and if I have a child, it'll probably be so ADD. So I will be calling you.
You know where to find me.
Out of the womb, send it to the chiropractor and to Sarah.
I love it. Yes. I'm here. I love working with kids and adults.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yay.